What are some of the keys to building a successful business in downtown Detroit? Passage is a ticketing and payments company that found a niche working with smaller and medium-sized events. They navigated through the pandemic not by retreating, but by investing, and it's paid off for them. Alex Linebrink, the CEO and co-founder of Passage, is my guest to unpack all of it. He's got a lot of big, positive energy about the city, and I think you'll hear it in this conversation. I'm Jer Stays, and welcome to Your Daily Detroit for Thursday, July 14th, 2022. Thanks as always to our members at patreon.com/dailydetroit for supporting the show. And if you've got feedback, dailydetroit@gmail.com. I'm all ears. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jer. I am pumped to be here. Thanks a ton for having me.
Oh, of course. So you've hit a milestone. I understand 6 million tickets, which is quite a big deal for somebody who, you focus on smaller and medium events. How has this journey been?
It's been incredible. Obviously, this doesn't happen all at once. So it has been a journey. We started back in 2014, and I'll tell you, the first few years were slow growth. We have never had a down year, thankfully, but we've kind of been on that uptrend. But more recently, it's just taken off. And yeah, we just hit 6 million tickets sold, which is incredible. We have a ton of amazing clients, amazing events that we work with that are, using our platform to sell those tickets. So they should really get all the credit there. But it's been a fun journey, and it's only picking up pace. So I think we'll do about 2.5 million of that just this year. So that's pretty incredible.
I'm most familiar with your name because I go to, I'm familiar with Detroit City FC, which is a client of yours.
Mm-hmm.
What made you decide that you're going to go after this kind of small and medium market? When you think about events, you think about some of the bigger names that kind of have monopolies on things. What said to you, like, hey, I'm going to serve and hyper-serve this kind of smaller market?
Fun fact, it was haunted houses. That's really? Where we started that. Yeah. So I ran a payment processing company, a payment technology company before this. And we got in with the Quicken Loans group. We worked with Quicken Loans and that sort of thing, and Cleveland Cavaliers. But we were really reselling and just having a technical bend on payment tech services. And when I sold that in 2014, I knew that payments industry, and I knew the event space from some personal experience. So I grew up around haunted houses, and that was mostly because my father's birthday was on Halloween. So every year, instead of cake and ice cream, we built a haunted yard, and it got bigger and bigger. And then we were doing 1,500 people just on Halloween that would come through, and it was a blast. But we wanted to compare each other. We went to trade shows and that sort of thing, and went to other haunted houses. And we kind of saw that there were some unique needs there with these haunted attractions. And I got a hold of this buddy of mine who had recently exited a previous startup he was working on, Patrick Mish. He's my co-founder and still our CTO today. And said, hey, I think there's a market for these specialty kind of niche event categories like haunted attractions. And I know how we can get to them, so we could kind of prove this out. But basically, what I was seeing at the time was that Eventbrite and the other, kind of self-service ticketing companies out there, the Ticketmaster had tons of features, but Eventbrite didn't have much. They would do one-off date and time and price point events. So one date, one time, one price point, one venue. They're great at that. So concerts, concerts and book clubs, basically. It worked really, really well for. But anything else that needed repeat time slots, or repeat days every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night through the end of October, like a haunted house, or bundles of attractions, or season passes on the sports side, or merchandise or concessions, anything else you would need for revenue as an event organizer, it just didn't work for. So there were all these specialty categories, and that was kind of our thing. We thought we'll bring, branded, ticketing to them. So actually help them reach more fans in those categories by creating special brands for them and special features and functionality to help them run more smoothly. And we're going to get them their money faster, because that was the other thing we saw. Eventbrite made you wait until 2 weeks after the event ended to get your money, which was just ridiculous if you're doing pre-sales. You want that money now to put on your event and to help you market it and run it, when you're selling those tickets. So we get people their money in 1 to 2 business days from every sale. And that was also a huge innovation at the time there. Yeah.
Why do something like this in, Detroit? And you're based in downtown Detroit. You're a Detroit resident. Why do this here? Because, there's so many places that are doing startups right now.
because I love Detroit. And there's an energy here you can't get anywhere else. I mean, you mentioned that when we were chatting, right before the show here. And I couldn't agree more. So I grew up not in Detroit. I grew up in Hillsdale, Michigan, small farm town, about 120 miles away, something like that. But I was a Tigers fan. So I would come, to Detroit to check out as many Tigers games as I could, throughout the years and summers and that sort of thing. Every time I was down here, it was infectious. It was at Corktown when I was younger, and over at the actual Tiger Stadium, now Comerica Park in downtown. But it was just this atmosphere, this energy there. And once I came down here in 2008, I think to Detroit when I was working on another startup company. And we were looking for investment, and we saw the opportunities in the ecosystem here and this kind of entrepreneurial ecosystem that was starting. And, when it comes to it, like there's just this really interesting energy of grit and support. Like, so everybody in Detroit, they're not competitive. They want to see each other succeed. And I can't really explain it any more way than that. If you go to another big city, you feel like you're in competition with everybody. In Detroit, you feel like you're kind of partners with everybody else. And yeah, you're gonna jab each other periodically and stuff like that. But at the end, like, it's tough love, and everybody wants to see everybody else succeed because they know it's good for the community. So there's this grit and this drive that you don't get anywhere else. And I'm super proud to be a part of it. I've lived here for the last 11, going on 12 years now, and had businesses in Detroit for that long too. And we're just pumped to be here. Yeah. Not planning on going anywhere else.
What are a few tips you'd give to people, now that you've been doing this a few years? Sometimes I think people look at getting involved in Detroit or getting a business started there or those kind of things. They're like, well, where do I start? I'm not used to this, or it might seem intimidating, or like kind of like where do you pull the tab to get going?
Yeah, no idea is too big. So I'd start there. Like, if you've got a mission, like, try it, especially if you're young, man, especially if you're in your 20s and don't have much to lose, right? Like, so what if it doesn't work out, you go get a job somewhere, so try it, put the time aside and try to make it happen. Do it on the side if you can for a while, get stuff started, but then go big with it if you've got enough interest in it. And so to start with, work another 8 hours every day after your 8-hour, full-time job. But then, try to go big. There are opportunities for investment. There's opportunities for grants. There's opportunities for loans, all sorts of different funding and financing opportunities if it's too big for your checkbook, which, I would expect it would be if you're young. But just try it out. And then, if you've got something there, stick to it and work your butt off and just dedicate to it. That's the biggest thing. You see a lot of people hit some roadblocks and give up. I'm a firm believer that there are very few roadblocks that are insurmountable if you want to, stick with it. And one thing that we've noticed through the years is our investors, become more and more supportive and give us more and more resources and support as they see our tenacity in sticking to it and getting stuff done. And kind of the other thing, like when you're looking at a team, like, one of the things that I was just talking to one of our team members about yesterday, because we're hiring some more people. We've grown like crazy. The last 3 years, we've gone from 4 team members to 15 full-time. We're hiring 2 more people right now.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been an awesome journey. A lot of growing pains in there, of course. But one of the things, that we were just talking about is like, look, we are A-okay with hiring for potential, not for experience, right? Like, there's always a certain amount of experience. Experience is a good thing. I'm not saying it's bad, but there's a lot more to hire for in potential. If you see that somebody has energy and willingness and eagerness to learn, like, that's the team member you want, right? Like, it doesn't matter if they've done amazing things. You want the person that will do, not has done. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think about this in regards to what we do is that I have found that I can't teach hustle. Like, I can teach a lot of different things. I can teach you how to place a microphone. I can teach you how to turn things on. I can teach you how to write a short summary, but I can't teach you the drive and the hustle. Like, if you don't want to be here, if you don't want to show up or want to create opportunities, then there's really nothing I can do for you. And I think that's universal, whatever age you are. I think that applies. There's people who are older that I see that still have that hustle. Like, so I don't want to write them off either.
100%, 100%. All levels there. It lets you, hire probably more cost effectively too, because, hustle doesn't show up on the resume, unfortunately, or at least it's hard to put down on the resume. Sometimes you can get a little bit of a vibe, but that is not equatable necessarily to the experience that's been there. So sometimes, the people that cost the most are the ones with the most applicable experience, right? But like somebody might be switching careers later in their career. Somebody might be just getting out of college and just have a big chip on their shoulder and a lot to prove, whatever. I think it's all, worth going after there, and makes a lot more sense than hiring specifically based on those outside things. I mean, I for one, never had anything relevant to this, in my education growing up. I went to school for religion and philosophy and then did electrical engineering, and like none of it applies here.
Oh, wow.
So that's part of it, right?
Well, you're talking about philosophy. You were talking about obstacles. One of the things that strikes my mind, I'm currently in the middle of The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday.
Cool. Love it. Yeah.
And it's almost like that stoic view of like, you don't always have to go through the obstacle. Sometimes you go over it. Sometimes you go around it. Sometimes the shortest journey home is the longest path.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, you were mentioning about financing. One thing I didn't know is that you, over the pandemic, launched something called Passage Capital. Can you talk about that?
100%. This is something we are super proud of, because we were able to, I think, kind of, create lemonade from lemons here, turn something sour into something a little bit sweeter. Though I would never say that there was anything sweet about the pandemic, right? Rough time, and it was a rough time for everybody. We had a rough time going into it. We had 1,000 events selling tickets in the beginning of March and 0 at the end of March 2020.
I can only imagine for you. Like, that's got to be like, that must have been an OMG WTF BBQ moment for you.
I had investors calling us, like, this is a little side tangent to the Passage Capital stuff, but I had investors calling us and telling us, like, we had to shut it down, like this is it. We got to shut everything down, hibernate until this is all over, then hire people back. And I'm like, no, man, I've been building a team, been building a product, been building a client base. And like, this is when we have an opportunity, So that was my take on it. Like, this is an opportunity. We had few bucks in the bank, not a terrible amount. So we actually hired during the pandemic and built new tech during the pandemic. We built a virtual events platform because we wanted to allow our clients to keep, entertaining people, to keep servicing people throughout the pandemic, even though they weren't able to go to their venues and go to their normal spaces. And we built a socially distanced, event technology so people could get text messages instead of waiting in line at big attractions. And so they could have socially distanced assigned seating. Detroit City FC actually used that for a while, where it would separate groups of people and leave like 2 or 3 seats in between everybody. We built all that stuff from scratch, just to make sure people could keep going through the pandemic, and it paid off. We ended up 80% in 2020, though for quite a while it was almost 0 there, which was a scary time. But Passage Capital, back to that. This is one of the things we launched when people were coming to us and saying, what the heck do we do? So we told them, well, check out virtual events for a while. Let's do that. But also, let's see if we can help you get through a tough time, because we know you don't have revenue coming in. So we think that you're going to come out of this, and that everybody's going to come out of this. So we created this program. We're not a nonprofit, so we can't just give away money. But we got with our investors and we said, what can we do to make this worthwhile on both sides? We created a program where we could get upfront cash infusions to people that we already worked with in a lot of cases, but also new people, and they could do whatever they want with it. It could be to get through a rainy day. It could be to increase marketing. It could be to start a new virtual event series, whatever. It's still going today. People are using it for marketing. People are using it to help their venue out, all that sort of thing. But we could get this upfront cash infusion to them, and all they have to do is sign a longer term contract with us. Normally, we don't have contracts. There's no term length. You could come today and leave us tomorrow, and there's nothing we could do. We want to earn your business, so we just hope you'll stay with us if you're selling more tickets. But with this program, you would be locked into like a 2 to 4 year contract, somewhere in there. And it's worked out great. To date, we have deployed over $250,000 to events that really needed it. And we're on pace to do another 500,000 this year alone. So we're just picking up pace with it. And here's the awesome thing. that means to me that it's working. When we see the numbers on these, we see that people that get into this program and get some of these cash infusions are actually significantly doing better on their ticket sales than before those cash infusions, which is just a great thing, to me, to be able to help these clients out, and in turn, we end up having a business that's doing better as a result because we're seeing more ticket sales through the platform as well.
It also reminds me of the idea that so often, and I see this a lot in Metro Detroit, where people are trying to do things, but they're like $1,000 or $2,000 or $10,000 short of something where it could really go.
Exactly.
And they might not have the connections or resources to take that to the next level, especially if they've got an event or some sort of business that they're doing that they're like trying to get off the ground. But it's that gap, if you will, where it's, hey, I want to bring somebody on to do this thing for 20 hours or whatever. And there's just that gap in cash flow.
Yep, absolutely. You got it. And that's exactly what this program is there to help surmount and get through. And yeah, usually it's not huge amounts of cash. It kind of ranges from $1,000 or a couple $1,000, and up from there. Our largest one is, closer to the $100,000 range. But most of them, the average is like $5,000 to $6,000 in between there. So, it's something to help, just those edge cases that you're talking about.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Before I let you go, is there anything else that you want to make sure to share with us about kind of the journey? I mean, to see your revenue, basically triple in a couple of years, find a way to do these things. I like to talk to people who have found some success and say, hey, is there like a big takeaway or something that you've seen in Detroit in the last year or two that really like gives you like a good vibe or something to take advantage of?
I mean, the people here, as I mentioned before, that's number one. Our team means everything to our business. We would not have a business if we didn't have the amazing team we do. So that's huge. There are great people in Detroit. Take advantage of it. A lot of them want to make a difference. Number two, I think there's a spirit of experimentation here that's incredible. There's that grit, there's that hustle, but there's also experimentation. So take advantage of that. Build MVP type stuff. With us, we put technology out there and see how our clients use it. And a lot of times it's not how we expected it to be used, which can lead to headaches. But at the same time, like that's what lets us compete with companies like Eventbrite that have 200 developers there, and we've got way more functionality with a team of 5 going on 6 developers right now. So that's something else that I'd throw out there is just a tip. And in Detroit, man, stick around. There's going to be some awesome stuff happening here. You can just feel the excitement in the air as more skyscrapers are being built and there's more housing and more opportunities. Sports are going to come back alive. We will start winning again, I swear.
Well, when you're a DCFC fan, we're kind of used to winning. We like winning.
Exactly. I mean, if you want to win, go to a DCFC game. Yeah.
Alex, if people want to know more, they want to sign up their event for what you're doing or get involved, what can they do?
Yeah, you can check us out at gopassage.com. That is where our website is. Whether you want to sell tickets for your event or just find out about our company or find awesome events around you, go over there, click find an event. You can find something local in Detroit or wherever you are. We're in all 50 states right now and Canada and Australia. So go find an event as well. And feel free to reach out to me anytime as well. I'm on Twitter at Alex Linebrink or just alex@gopassage.com.
Thank you so much for your time today on Daily Detroit.
Thank you so much, Jared. Really appreciate it.
And that's it for today's podcast. Tomorrow, Cheyenne Nocerini is in for Devin O'Reilly, who's working on a special project. We're going to talk about that list of 50 greatest places Detroit made it on, self-service beer and booze taps getting the green light in Michigan, and a whole lot more. I'm Jared Stays. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll talk tomorrow.